In upcoming sections in this lesson, we want to start spawning apples from the apple tree. So what we want to do now is we want to actually create that asset, which is going to be a simple sphere. So I'll just go and search. In the shape section, I'll just drop a sphere in here. I will zero that out. I will scale that down uniformly. You can scale that down to 0.5 or 0.45 uniformly, something like that. We can always change that later on, of course. Next, we want to go and create a material instance for this apple. So in the content browser, under materials, I will instantiate the base material by creating a material instance. I will open that up. And now we can go and select my color. Again, we can also change that later on. Save that. And I will go and I'll just go and dock this here for a second. You can see that we have applied that material to the apple now. So we have our little red apple. Okay, so those will spawn from the tree. And of course, we don't have that in our content browser right now. So that makes it difficult to select. That is when we have a blueprint and we want to apply that as a static mesh. I'll just close off the content browser for now. And with that apple selected, I will go to actor and I will convert the sphere to a static mesh. Under meshes, I will call that sm_apple and I'll click save. So now we have the static mesh for the apple and the static mesh for the tree. And I'll go and save that. We don't have to keep this apple within the world, so I'll just delete that. And actually I'll go and double click on the apple here. That is to bring up the static mesh editor. And I want to go and click here on show. Simple collision. Notice that we don't really get simple collision here. Typically we have a green outline with that. And that's because we simply generated the static mesh from the basic shapes. So what I'll do is I'll click on collision. And I'll add a sphere simplified collision, and now that should show up. And I'll click to save that. Notice that in the static mesh editor under the material slots, this is where you can go and select the particular material that you want to have be applied to this. So if you don't drag and drop it on, or if it doesn't show up again, you can just go and select the particular material that you want in here as well. That I think for now is going to wrap up how we create the apple, and we now have to go and set up a class for that, a C++ class. So in the classes folder here, go and right click and create a new C++ class here. That is going to be an actor. Click next. This is going to be the base class for the apple. So I'll just select apple base. Again, we are going to derive in blueprints. We are going to create a blueprints class, which is going to derive from this base class. Also, the path, I'm not going to change that. That is going to be in basically the default source, which Unreal Engine will use. Project name /source/applepicker. Just go and click create class. I will simply go and click reload here. You might get that pop up from time to time when you add a new class. You can just click reload or reload all within the apple base header. We basically want to do the same thing that we had done in the tree base header. That is where we go ahead and set up the root component. We want a static mesh component for that. So just to save some time, what you can do is you can copy this, or you can always go ahead and type all of that out. And actually I'll go and move this down under the protected section. And that is pretty much all we need for the apple base. We want a static mesh component for the root. Okay, so we want to set that up within the constructor. As we had done in the tree base as well, we want to go and create a default sub-object, and then we want to set the root component. Again, I'll just be a bit lazy here and I'll just go and copy that. And then I want to make sure to give this a unique name as well. So I have an apple mesh component. So we create that default sub-object, is going to allocate that and is going to assign the pointer to apple mesh component. We assign apple mesh component to the root component. And with this done, I'll click save all. And I'll go back into the editor here, Ctrl Alt F11 to rebuild that. What you can do is you can click this button right here. Live coding succeeded. Alright, so we will continue and we will go in the blueprint section. We will create a new blueprint class. I will select Apple base for the base class, select that. I will call that bp_apple for blueprint apple. Alright, and I will open that up. Under the static mesh component, I will select the apple that we created. That is sm_apple. It should now populate the materials as well. The mobility I want to set to movable. And then the scale has not stayed the way we modified it previously. So I'll just go and modify that again. That is to 0.45 uniformly. Press enter. We also want to check simulate physics down here under the physics section. For now, that is going to be it. I will compile and save. Then back in the editor, we can go and drag these in. And if I simulate, those should fall down and fall onto the floor, as we can see. I will go ahead and delete these apples because we are going to spawn them from the tree, that is programmatically. And I will go ahead and save all. Alright, as I mentioned, we can always go and modify the materials, the scale and so forth as we go along. But that is going to conclude the basic setup for the apples and the apple class.